Alright folks, we have come back. Let's start case number 18. Thanks to these three for helping me out. It's Sylvia, A, and Vivian.
Inspector, when we parted, I really was under the impression...
The higher you rise.
Actually, we've been quite busy. I've been in contact with the New York police, and I just received a text from them. If I can find it.
The World Exhibition has been a wonder of modern innovation, Matthew. From steam-powered flying machines to Charles and Richard's DNA machine.
Then he could be here in Genoa.
The event has, however, been overshadowed by murder. The competition for the grand prize suffered from repeated instances of sabotage. Some inventions, like the steam pack, have been outright eliminated. Others, like the Chessmaton, have a much lower chance of winning after they were tampered with. Someone is clearly manipulating the competition so that Stanley Sparks' exosuit is victorious, but he himself claims innocence. The winner is set to be announced tonight, Matthew. We must be on our guard. Senior Trooper Matthew, pardon my interruption, but you must come quickly. The exhibition tower, there's... Constable Ramirez, is it? Yes, that magnificent construction is finished at last, but that's nothing to worry about. You misunderstand, Detective Bontemps. Someone's been found dead at the bottom of the tower. Another murder on the final night of the World Exhibition? Matthew, we must investigate the tower at once.
And don't you look radiant tonight? So good you could come. Happy to be here. That woman hates my guts.
I never would have guessed it. Now I really need a drink.
Be bitchy.
Why not? You say you love me. You promised to find a way to get rid of that dewy-eyed soubrette who's taken my dressing room, my roles, and you do nothing.
I told you these things take time.
Oh, well, my time is running out. That
Okay.
business last night with Andre
Let's
in
do
the
it.
fog. That was you, wasn't it?
Do me a favor. Shut up and behave. Okay?
Oh no, that's Celine George.
Directly to the point. I have read our contract over, and to my dismay, things are not as we discussed.
It's signed as Rodolfo. I'll tell you what. Let's get through the season first, and we'll see.
So, what is it you have to say that requires so much privacy?
4 seconds.
As direct as the first day in class at Juilliard. You were the only one who wasn't intimidated.
True. What is it?
I wanted to apologize
Alright.
for what I've done to you.
What have you done?
Heavens, Matthew, Ramirez is correct. That poor woman is deceased.
Everybody in the company,
And unless I'm mistaken, that's Celine George, the inventor of the Chessmaton.
marry somebody
It appears Miss George fell from the top of the tower. And those bruises on her face and arm indicate she was involved in some sort of scuffle. This was no accident. Celine was murdered.
I'll always adore you.
We know Miss George was determined to catch the individual behind the exhibition sabotage. Could this have cost her life? Cost her life? That torn photograph might reveal the answer. I'll fetch your adhesive tape, Matthew. And that pistol is a regulation firearm of the Concordian police. What is that doing here? Let's use that faded engraving to track down the careless officer. Even the final evening of the World Exhibition cannot escape the specter of murder. Let us away, Matthew. There's work to be done.
Remind me not to throw any more parties real soon.
Listen, except for a couple of bumps, it could hardly be done.
And speaking as one of the bumps, darling, am I forgiven?
18 hours. I'll see you guys in just a few minutes while I get some stars.
Individual to make the final mistake.
Okay,
I can hardly
I've got
breathe.
myself 9 stars. Well, let's examine the gun first of all. Oh my goodness. Do my eyes deceive me, Matthew? That engraving indicates this firearm belongs to Chief Wright. It's one thing for a wet behind the ears officer to be careless with their weapon, but the chief? A peculiar development, one that only Chief Wright can explain. I agree. Let's have a word with him. Oh
That's it.
my goodness.
Buongiorno, Carlo.
About misplacing his gun.
Yes, I understand.
Matthew, right on time. I just finished securing the area. A heinous crime. The murder of yet another World Exhibition finalist. On the very night the grand prize will be awarded. Heinous indeed, Chief. However, forgive my impertinence. I wonder how your pistol came to be left at the crime scene. My pistol? Heavens, Matthew, you're right. In all of the confusion, I must have misplaced it. I was strolling around the exhibition and I heard a scream coming from the tower. When I realized what had happened, I dispatched Constable Ramirez immediately. Now, you mustn't feel awkward, Matthew. I know you have no choice but to file me as a suspect. Continue with this investigation as you would any other, by the book.
Yes, but that's where your theory falls apart. You see, the person you suggest could not possibly be the stalker because...
I know.
All right.
And that's the part that I can't figure out that.
Matti, ma non ce l'ho la pizza con le acciughe, ma mi faccia favore, ho sbagliato numero, lo rifaccio con calma.
There we go.
Oh, it's driving me crazy. They
That
want
photograph
pizza
you've
with
reassembled is of the victim,
electronic
Celine
towel,
George.
similar to mine.
And you're right, Matthew. The other woman is that inventor, Greta Gunwood, whose color photography camera was tampered with.
How? What?
The ladies appear younger in this photograph. They must have been friends for some time. Meaning it's our unenviable duty to inform Miss Gunwood of her friend's demise.
Intends to kill Andrea. There isn't much time if we're going to save her.
Well, this is the first coins that I'll be sharing. Okay. Once again, this is of case number 18. The higher you rise. About her friendship with the victim. Thank heavens, Senior Trooper Matthew. Celine, I saw her fall from the upper deck of the exhibition tower. You witnessed Miss George's murder? You saw the dastardly assailant? Murder?
What are you doing?
This wasn't an accident?
Where's Andrea?
It was so lucky.
She was too high up. I didn't see anything.
Andrea was having an anxiety
Senior Trooper
attack,
Matthew,
so
you must find out who did this.
Was she alright?
She's fine. But
Celine and I may have been rivals, but we've been friends for many years.
With her, but she was afraid that you might
The scientific world is dominated by men. It was encouraging to have someone like Celine around. Who would do such a thing? We don't know yet, but Senior Trooper Matthew will not rest until that question is answered.
motivated someone.
This is unusual, Matthew. We found an eyewitness to the murder, but the crime scene was too high for Miss Gunwood to see anything.
We're dealing with a twisted freak.
Obviously, our next move is to investigate the exhibition tower's upper deck, where Miss George fell from. Onward and upward.
Pragmatist. Supposing his objective from the start was to kill Andrea. That everything he's done up until now has been an elaborate, almost Byzantine cover-up. So that when Andrea is finally killed, he'd be totally above suspicion.
Do you have anyone in particular in mind?
You, Jonas, it was really rather brilliant. You framed yourself for Petrocelli's murder in such a way that you'd be certain your good friend Jessica Fletcher would come galloping to the rescue. You sprinkled all the clues relying on me to clear you. You even left a message for me, supposedly from Mr. Petrocelli, summoning me to the Opera House at 8 a.m. to ensure that I'd be on the scene for your very clever charade.
Jessica, there's no way you can prove any of this.
You're mistaken, Senor Cole. We have already proved it.
Trash can.
Your voice. A voice in comparison we haven't done before.
Ha!
You pre-recorded the tapes
Viewing
and arranged to be
binoculars.
standing right there with us each time I stopped.
When Senora Fletcher put me on your trail, your motive became apparent. Petrocelli wasn't the only one who had ensured your wife's life. You took out a $10 million policy on her.
No, my corporation did. Now, that's routine with all my artists.
This is a glorious panorama of Concordia, Matthew, but there's no time to admire the view.
Once again, Senor Cole.
This platform is still closed to the public, greatly narrowing our field of investigation is in looking for Miss George. Killer. Capital thinking, Matthew. We know the victim fought before she fell. Perhaps the killer touched these binoculars during the skirmish. Let's dust them for fingerprints. And if Miss George's killer discarded evidence, it may be in that trash can. Let's see what you can find, Matthew.
You couldn't let well enough alone. When you were in Inspector Amaki's office, after you thanked me for saving you, you phoned Andrea to warn her, only you dialed a supposedly wrong number.
Andrea, it's me. What? Wrong number.
Phone company has
9. Bloody coin. A blood-stained coin, Matthew? Not what you'd expect to find in the trash. The killer must have discarded this after their foul deed. It's an unusual denomination, Matthew. Certainly not a Concordian shilling. We should send a specimen to Evie to see what she can make of it.
The shreds from your Wall Street Journal tied you directly to the blanks you fired to simulate Petruccelli's murder. Then I realized that with Andrea's departure imminent, you had to act quickly. Now, earlier this evening, something the inspector said reminded me that you are an experienced climber, and that the one way
3 hours.
you could reach the apartment undetected by the police would be through a window.
Fortunately, this was the one time we managed to be a step ahead of you.
Petruccelli was spying on Vicky. He accidentally spotted me with a rope in the grapple trying to descent. It was nothing personal.
There we are.
So much money in the stock market.
Brilliant work, Matthew. You found fingerprints on these viewing binoculars.
Infusion of cash.
Let's compare these prints to the archives to see if we can find a match.
Alison Sweetie stars in an all-new Murder, She Baked mystery movie.
Bishop is dead. Norman just found the body.
3 now.
Someone is cooking up a recipe for murder.
You're not gonna believe what I found.
Murder, She Baked, Just Desserts, part of 4 all-new mystery movies, 4 Sundays in a row. Premieres Sunday evening on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries.
Hey, 4 minutes.
Alright.
Oh, looks like he took a wrong turn. Don't worry, this guy's got like a 4-star rating. We're good. His name's Randy. That's like
Alright,
one of those
there's another 9.
Ordering a getaway car.
Stanley Spark.
Randy.
Matthew, the fingerprints you retrieved from these binoculars belong to Stanley Spark, the person who would benefit the most from Celine George's elimination from the contest. I know we couldn't go to Spark on suspicion alone, but his fingerprints on our crime scene are more than sufficient. Surely we will find Mr. Spark at tonight's festivities.
Because of how it makes them feel. Early skin is Beautifil. Cetaphil. Define your brows. Express yourself. Brow Stylist Definer from L'Oreal. The ultra-thin tip recreates tiny brow hairs. The spoolie brush blends effortlessly. Now brows get their most precise look yet.
While he was on the tower.
Brow Stylist Definer from L'Oreal makeup designer Paris.
Diabetes.
Mark my words, Senior Trooper Matthew. Tonight, mankind's crowning achievement, my exosuit, will be declared the winner of the exhibition contest, crushing my competition. An intriguing choice of words, Mr. Spark, considering one of your rivals, Celine George, was found crushed at the bottom of the exhibition tower. What? Celine is dead? Yes, she got into a fight at the top of the tower and plummeted to her death, and we found your fingerprints on the crime scene. Wait, are you implying I did it? It's not enough to accuse me of sabotage, now you're saying I'm a killer? I was merely admiring the glorious view of Concordia, old chap. I told you before, I don't need to murder anyone to win. My exosuit is beyond anything Miss George could dream of. The fusion of man and machine, the human mind augmented by robotics. That's enough, Mr. Sparks. Mr. Spark, save your speech for another time.
Check your blood sugar levels daily. Injection site reactions may occur. Don't change your dose of insulin without talking to your doctor. Tell your doctor
And that's
about all
going
your
to do.
medicines and medical conditions. Check insulin label each time you inject. Taking TZDs
I'll see you guys when these two are done. Okay, I'm back now. Let's get the results of the autopsy. It appears being an inventor at the World Exhibition is hazardous to one's health, Matthew. I'm grateful Charles and I are still alive. Much to our relief, Richard. Now, did your autopsy of the unfortunate Miss George yield any clues? Indeed, And it's all about the hands. A person's hands are a veritable treasure trove of clues. First handprints on the victim's chest proved beyond doubt that Miss George was pushed from the tower. She literally died at the hands of the assailant. Additionally, I found traces of spun sugar residue in the handprints. In other words, cotton candy. So the killer was eating the popular confection before they fought? Charming. But it doesn't stop there. Clutched in the victim's hand was a tuft of purple threads torn from the killer during the struggle. So keep an eye out for a purple garment. We shall indeed. But there's no sugarcoating this, Matthew. We're looking for a killer who eats cotton candy.
Is your daughter Jazz?
Jazz? No. She hates jazz. She ain't calling like classical music.
Someone emailed me this song yesterday.
How did you know about my hobby, Matthew? Once I polish the blood away, this coin will make a fine addition to my collection. What have you done, Evie? That blood was evidence! I know that. Viola confirmed that blood was the victim's an hour ago. Evelyn Holloway, you must never do that again. I apologize. Nevertheless, once Viola had established this coin was the killer's, I took a closer look at its design. And it's not a coin at all, or at least it is in currency. This is a limited edition World Exhibition token, which can be exchanged for a hot air balloon ride. You're saying the killer was planning on taking a hot air balloon ride? An uplifting clue, Matthew. You'll bring Miss George's killer back down to Earth in quick order. The World Exhibition was meant to be a showcase of mankind's achievements, but it has been continually tarnished by sabotage and murder. A competition contender, Celine Georges, was pushed from the top of the exhibition tower, falling to her death. It's tempting to think that Stanley Spark, who has benefited the most by sabotaging efforts, is the logical suspect in Miss George's murder. But there isn't enough evidence to make an accusation. Greta Gunwood, the victim's friend, says she witnessed the crime, albeit from a distance. And then there's Chief Wright, who misplaced his pistol at the crime scene. If we're to get anywhere... Matthew, aren't you ready? We must hurry. Ready for what, Charles? The awards ceremony. Leopold Rochester is about to announce the winner of the World Exhibition. Alright, we'll see you guys for Chapter 2. Okay, folks, let's start Chapter 2 of The Higher You Rise. The World Exhibition was intended to be a showcase of mankind's achievements, but it has been tarnished by sabotage and murder. Now on the closing night, Celine George is pushed from the top of the exhibition tower. Matthew, Leopold Rochester is on stage at the Crystal Palace. He and Mayor Castletown are about to announce the winner. Announce the winner? A competition contender is dead and two of her fellow finalists are implicated in her murder. What are they thinking? Matthew, we must put a stop to this. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to crown the winner of the grand prize, honoring the most talented inventor at the World Exhibition. This year's finalists are at the forefront of technological advancement, representing the latest in modern innovation. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to declare this year's winner to be... Stop this at once! I say, what's the meaning of this? Mr. Rochester, Senior Trooper Matthew is conducting an investigation into the murder of one of the competition finalists. It's therefore not fitting for this ceremony to proceed until the culprit faces justice. Murder? Senior Trooper Matthew, I had no idea someone was killed. And I didn't give it a second thought. The show must go on. There is a time and place for celebration, Mayor Castletown, and now is not appropriate. Very well, Senior Trooper Matthew. We shall wait. You are free to proceed with your investigation. It appears we have talked a little sense into Mr. Rochester and Mayor Castletown. For now, how should we proceed, Matthew? Good idea. It's possible Miss George's killer, or even the victim herself, were here in the Crystal Palace. Let's scour the ceremony stage for clues.
No answer.
It's right outside, Sean. So talk to him.
He doesn't deserve you, Anne. I will never forget seeing you at that party. Oh, you smiled right at me. You said we're so blessed. This is our beautiful day.
Scarf? Metal pieces. Sarcophagus and cake. And I got it.
I'll tell you, Anne. Only you. I need to see you first.
Good show, Matthew. That purple scarf is missing some tassels. Exactly like the thread Celine George is clutched in her hand. This scarf must be the killer's. The garment Richard told us about. Collecting a sample of that white powder could shed more light on their identity. Uncovering secrets is your specialty, Matthew, so searching through that folder is a wise course of action. And those broken pieces of metal might seem like a dead end, but I'll trust your instincts. I'm sure you can reassemble them. Okay, let's see. Now, I'm kind of thinking it might be... I'm kind of thinking the killer might be female since they're already saying herself. Although I think it might be a little premature to say herself. Ooh. Matthew, that plan you found inside that folder is a diagram of the exhibition tower's upper deck, the very place Miss George was pushed to her death. And look at these notations. Safety barriers are too low, no safety net, and the plan is signed by Chief Inspector Halstead. Eleanor Halstead has been tasked with maintaining security at the World Exhibition, and it goes without saying she's had a difficult time. But this diagram indicates the Chief Inspector had concerns about the safety of the exhibition tower. Did she do anything about them? Let's go find out. Chief Inspector Halstead, apologies for disturbing you, especially on a night like this, but by all means, we only have another murder on our hands, and Mayor Castletown and Leopold Rochester are breathing down my neck, but feel free to take up as much time as you need. Well, I'm sorry, Senior Trooper Matthew, I'm just a bit jittery from eating too much cotton candy. You know how I get around sugar. We wanted to ask you about your safety concerns regarding the exhibition tower. Yes, I was worried about the safety of visitors accessing the upper deck. I had every intention of implementing better protocols before it was open to the public. If only a safety net had been in place, perhaps Celine George would still be alive. The World Exhibition has gone terribly wrong in so many ways. How could it have gotten so out of hand? I'm confident you have done the best job you could, Chief Inspector. Chin up, as Miss O'Malley would say.
Call USAA today to talk about your insurance needs.
Okay.
Oh, I'm not a security guard. I'm a security monitor. I only notify people if there's a robbery. There's a robbery.
Why monitor a problem if you don't fix it? That's why free credit monitoring is enough to protect you from identity theft. At LifeLock, we not only alert you to identity threats, if you have a problem, we'll spend up to $1 million on lawyers and experts who work to fix it. LifeLock, Jane Starr
Talmadge Baldwin again. This VIP pin grants special access to the exhibition tower. Heavens, Matthew, you're right. This pin belongs to Commissioner Baldwin. He was on the tower's upper deck, the very place Celine George was murdered. This isn't the first time Commissioner Baldwin has been suspected of murder at the World Exhibition. We know he held a grudge against the inventor of that steam pack, Orville West. Is it possible he harbored similar feelings towards Celine George? Let's ask the Commissioner and find out.
Please.
We just talk like we used to.
I've hurt you, Sean.
Why he was at the crime scene?
I want you to know that I'm sorry.
Fortuitous timing, Senior Trooper Matthew. I'm just getting into the queue for a hot air balloon ride. Care to join me? I'm afraid we have our hands full investigating the murder of Celine George, Commissioner. Yes, a real tragedy on such an auspicious night. Are you here with an update on the case? Not exactly. We understand you had access to the exhibition tower's upper deck, which is restricted to the public. This happens to be where Miss George was pushed to her death, meaning I could be her killer? Is that what you're saying? You've suspected me of criminal activity since New Haven, Senior Trooper Matthew, and frankly, I'm tired of your baseless accusations. If I were you, I'd tread carefully. By now, you should know who you're dealing with. Alright. Okay. Just a little. Okay, there we are. Okay, now let's get some of this powder up. Personally, I don't think that this is going to be that difficult or this serious. We know the scarf he collected this white powder from belongs to the killer. If Viola can identify this sample, we'll be one step closer to bringing them to justice. Alright. This is 12 hours, and I'll see you guys when that's done. For now, this is Matthew. See you then. Okay, folks, we've come back. Let's get the results of the white powder right now. Judging from that white powder you collected from the murderer's scarf, Matthew, you may be looking for a highly agitated killer. I don't follow, Viola. Are you perchance branching out into psychology? No, just pure scientific deduction, Isaac. On a microscopic level, those crystals are a chemical compound made up of carbon, hydrogen, chlorine, and oxygen. In these relative proportions, they form chloral hydrate. What has that got to do with the emotional stability of Celine George's killer? Chloral hydrate is commonly used as a sedative. The drug has many calmative uses, but it's frequently prescribed to ease frayed nerves. So our killer takes sedatives. There shall be no rest for the wicked, Matthew, with you on the case. Celine George's killer should be worried with you closing in, Matthew, but damning evidence is still lacking. And because the victim was pushed from the top of the exhibition tower and found dead at the monument's base, we have not one crime scene but two. Quite right, Matthew. Let's return to where the victim was first discovered. Perhaps there's something we overlooked.
The correct answer is yeah. What about taking pride in everything you do? Finding the courage to do something you've never done. Or doing something no one's ever done. We sure think so. This is what we call the new success story. And while success isn't just about money, no matter how much you have, we think you deserve the financial freedom to sleep like this at night. We are TIAA, and we're with you. Start today at TIAA.org.
Guess what? She just got more shoes from Just Bad. Every month. Shoes. More shoes. Delivered for free. Isn't that
Okay.
Whoa, because I work hard, it's my money, they're only $39.95 and they make me happy.
Those are good reasons.
I'll make some difference. Thousands of styles for just $39.95 plus free shipping. And now, buy one, get one free, only at JustFab.com.
At Southern New Hampshire University, we're proud to be one of the most affordable providers of high-quality online education. We're nonprofit.
There we are.
Tuition is
zulu.edu. At Zulily.com, you'll find thousands of new incredible deals every day on items for the entire...
That notebook seems out of place, Matthew. Perhaps it belonged to the victim. If you can decipher that symbol lock, we shall know for certain. But there's no doubt that rose was intended for Celine George. Her name is written on the attached card. It seems like some sort of romantic gesture. Retrieving that faded message may identify Miss George's secret admirer.
Nobody likes a dog with bad breath. That's why there's Oravet Dental Hygiene Chews. Oravet cleans teeth and gets to the cause of bad breath. Ask your vet about Oravet Chews. Serious oral care, made simple.
Meet you tonight at 7, Stanley. Ooh. I hardly know what to make of this romantic invitation, Matthew. Celine George has had a romantic evening planned with Stanley Spark? I was under the impression the two inventors were rivals. I wouldn't have expected them to fraternize socially. And yet this card speaks to the contrary. Quite right, Matthew. Stanley Spark has some explaining to do. About his relationship with the victim. Ah, Senior Trooper Matthew, would you care for some cotton candy? We're less interested in your sweet tooth, Mr. Spark, and more concerned about your sweetheart, namely Celine George. Sweetheart? Miss George? What are you talking about? We found your rose, Mr. Spark. You and the victim had a romantic engagement. Oh, that. Yes, we were meeting, but there was nothing romantic about it. I have my vices, like using more chloral hydrate than is advisable, but falling in love with my competition is not one of them. That rose is nothing more than a touch of class, a mark of charisma. And you're certain that's how Miss George has interpreted it? Unrequited love can easily spark a lover's quarrel, pardon the pun. I don't care how Celine interpreted anything. We may have shared mutual interests, but we were still rivals after all. Now, if you don't mind, I'm growing tired of this. If that's everything, Senior Trooper Matthew, I'm eager to take one of those hot air balloon rides. He just put himself in line in trouble. So far. Oh no, the tedious one. Seven, 3, 1, 7, 1. Oh, 7, 3, 1, 7, 1. Oh.
We're not here as fans. 5 years ago, your family reported you missing. What do you want from me? Need your help. Peter has another girl.
7, 2. Okay. 6, 8, 5, 4, 6.
Peter takes care of Peter. I meant
What can you tell us about
7, 9, 2, 1, 4. Boy, that was tedious. If Sparks wins, this will never happen again. This is some sort of scrapbook, Matthew, and the articles inside are obituaries. However, none of the names are familiar to me, and I wonder what that message means. If Spark wins, this will never happen again. I agree, Matthew. Evie should be able to determine the significance of these obituaries. Let's enter the scrapbook at once.
She's gone. She OD'd 2 months ago.
12 hours. I'll see you guys when that's done. For now, this is Matthew. See you then. Okay, folks, we've come back. I'm going to speed up the scrapbook now. The deaths of young people are tragic, Matthew, but it's ever more painful when their deaths come in the line of duty. Are you saying those obituaries are for police officers? I'm afraid so. What's more, at the time of their deaths, each of the deceased officers was under the command of Chief Wright. Chief Wright? Could this scrapbook be his? Without question, the police records also show that the chief held a memorial service for these officers. He's clearly concerned with preserving their legacy. That explains the message about Spark's exosuit. The chief seems to believe it could prevent other officers from dying. Quite right, Matthew. If Chief Wright had a vested interest in Spark's victory, we need to have another discussion with him.
Crock-Pot meals exclusively from Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks has created all new gourmet meal kits, straight from your freezer to your slow cooker.
All you have to do is put it in the slow cooker, turn it on low, and come home to a house that actually smells like you were seriously cooking.
All of these meats are so tender, if it was on a bone, it would
About
be
his
falling
interest in the
Or the Omaha
exosuit.
Steaks Crock-Pot meal deal for only $99.95. This special combo price
Chief Wright, Matthew wanted to ask you about your scrapbook, a sad litany of officers killed in the line of duty. How could I be so careless with that book? But this message you scrawled on the page, do you really think Spark's suit could prevent such tragedies? I live with this hope, Matthew. That suit is said to have a manifold protective applications. Can you imagine if officers were equipped with technology that could save their lives? These aren't just our colleagues, Matthew. These are our friends. That's why it is imperative that Spark claims victory at the World Exhibition, so his exosuit can go into mass production. I hardly sleep at night, Matthew. Thank heavens for chloral hydrate. You simply cannot fathom the burden of a man in my position. If you're right, Chief, it would indeed be a weight off your shoulders. Weaker men than you have been known to kill in such desperation. Perhaps, Matthew. In the end, we will have to let the facts of this case speak for themselves.
We have witnesses at the party to a hassle that they had over this very
For now, Chief Wright's in the clear.
so she could be there ready and waiting for him.
Could you believe I was home?
I never thought I'd see the day, Matthew, when nearly all of our suspects are colleagues. Not only have you placed Commissioner Baldwin at yet another crime scene, you've also learned that Inspector Halstead had concerns about the safety of the exhibition tower, but did nothing about them. And although his motives are noble, it seems Chief Wright has a vested interest in Stanley Sparks' victory at the World Exhibition. Did someone mention Arthur Wright? I must speak with him immediately. I'm afraid he's occupied, Judge Takakura. How can we help? I've had enough of the crime and madness in this city. I've tried my last case and I'm putting down my gavel. For good. Uh-oh.
From his wife and had Simpson make a phony duplicate of it.
We're gonna have to make Judge Takakura reconsider.
Sam, why do you color the boroughs
In Chapter
red
3.
and
See you
white?
then. Alright, folks, we have returned. Let's start Chapter 3 of The Higher You Rise. I never thought I'd see the day, Matthew, when nearly all of our suspects are colleagues. This is a grave turn of events. One. Senior Trooper Matthew, I must speak with Chief Wright immediately. I'm afraid the Chief is occupied, Judge Takakura. How can we help? I've had enough of the crime and madness in this city. I've tried my last case. Judge Takakura, you cannot drop everything and retire like this. We're in the middle of a murder investigation. You must preside over this case. Out of the question. There's nothing you can say to change my mind. Nothing? Even if we told you this murder is closely linked to the World Exhibition, no doubt leading to a high-profile trial? Well, I've always dreamed of leaving my mark on the legal world. Very well. I will remain as a favor to you, Senior Trooper Matthew, but find the culprit quickly. Good day. That's another bullet dodged, Matthew, but catching Celine George's killer is now a matter of urgency.
What, you don't like it?
Let's return to the Crystal Palace Auditorium. Surely there are more clues to be found.
Nancy. You won't
Okay.
find it there or anywhere. It was a figment of
Let's
Steve's
see.
imagination.
What clues am I on the hunt for?
What on earth are you doing here? I dropped something quite valuable here yesterday morning. If you
I gotta say though, I was kind of wondering when Judge Takakura was gonna.
No, Nancy. Not with a good friend.
I gotta
of yours,
wonder-
Murder. It appears that both of you had a hand in.
I was kind of curious to know when Takakura was gonna hang it up.
So cool. So soon after.
Please, Kathy, it won't work. Today, in Lieutenant Crowley's office, there was a graph on the wall that reminded me of the 5 fingers of a hand, and one of them was a different color from the rest. Like the nail polish that you wore here the morning after your husband's death. It was your usual color, Kathy, red blush, I think it is, except...
A fruitful search of the Crystal Palace, Matthew. That locked wooden box is obviously the victim's. While this wine bottle is some sort of peace offering. Celine, I hope you will forgive me. A sample of that beige substance may help us determine who is apologizing. But that postcard appears to have no connection to Celine George. The message reads, Alex, we have this competition in the bag. Get ready to make a fortune.
Jessica helped me.
Whoever wrote this is confident they will profit from the World Exhibition victory.
But I'm not putting up with anyone else.
The card isn't signed, but it was written to a fellow named Alex. Let's retrieve the address to find out who this gentleman
I
is.
found this new bottle of divine pink at your house, Mrs. Stafford.
What's so unusual about that, Lieutenant?
Well, the fact that there are only 2 sets of prints on it. Yours and, Mr.
Okay.
Burke's here.
Can you explain how you came into possession
Let's
of Antoinette's key to the
get
salon that you
everything
have in your hand?
out of the way.
Miss Rayburn, Mrs. Stafford, I'm arresting you both for conspiracy to commit murder.
Ralph promised me he wouldn't play around anymore. His affair with one of my closest friends came as quite a shock to me. He ultimate betrayal.
Wow, Alex
And
Baldwin.
somehow you discovered that the coin
Wonder
that
if he's-
Ralph gave you was worthless.
This postcard is addressed to an Alex Baldwin. Could he be a relation of Commissioner Baldwin?
And Kathy came to me very
Given the nature of the message, I assumed the postcard was written by one of the competition finalists. How would the commissioner profit from the grand prize?
During the party,
I agree, Matthew. There's even a hint of impropriety here. Commissioner Baldwin must answer for it. Let's find him at once.
It's funny what one does to relieve stress. I'd broken a nail, and as we waited, I filed it smooth and was putting on the divine pink when Ralph arrived, looking for Jimmy. In the dark, I didn't even notice it was such a different color.
We told him how he scorned and cheated us, but he wasn't.
Senior Trooper Matthew, I apologize for my behavior earlier. Perhaps I should increase my daily dose of chloral hydrate to calm my nerves. Please, let's bury the hatchet. I'll buy you some cotton candy. Thank you, Commissioner, but our investigation is pressing, and in that regard, we wanted to ask you about this postcard. Oh, yes, I hadn't realized I dropped that. You mustn't read into it, Senior Trooper Matthew. The competition is in the bag. Get ready to make a fortune. Just how are we supposed to read this message? The thing is, my brother Alex is an engineer. He signed a contract with Spark Industries. Should the exosuit prove victorious, Alex's factory will manufacture them. One could argue your brother stands to profit a great deal should Stanley Spark win. My family connections aside, all of Concordia will benefit from the manufacture of the exosuit. The technology has manifold applications, and it would be a boost to the economy. A lofty vision, Commissioner, but if it turns out you eliminated Celine Georges to ensure things were in the bag, your brother will be sending you postcards in prison.
Does psoriasis ever give you a touching moment? If you have moderate to severe psoriasis,
although the odds are in that favor, I sure hope that the culprit is not one of our colleagues.
Taltz has proven to give you a chance at completely clear skin. With Taltz, up to 90% of patients had a significant improvement of their psoriasis plaques. In fact, 4 out of 10 even achieved completely clear skin. Do not use if you are allergic to Taltz. Before starting, you should be checked for tuberculosis. Taltz may increase your risk of infections.
There we go.
And your ability to fight them. Tell your doctor if you are being treated for an infection or have symptoms, or if you have received a vaccine or clearance.
Heavens! The automaton inside that box was one of Celine George's inventions. Mind you, this little fellow is much smaller than the chessbaton that I defeated. I agree. Miss George has dreamed up all manner of devices. Perhaps you should have Charlie examine this automaton.
L'Oreal's New Age Perfect Rosy Tone Moisturizer increases cell renewal, boosts skin's rosy tone instantly. New Age Perfect Rosy Tone from L'Oreal Paris.
And we're still worth it.
Come on, you can do it.
Dogs just won't quit. Neither does Frontline. That's why there's Frontline Gold. With its easy applicator, Frontline Gold delivers powerful protection that doesn't quit for a full 30 days. Its triple action formula is relentless at killing fleas and ticks. Frontline Gold, the latest innovation from the maker of Frontline Plus. For persistent protection you can trust. Go for the gold. Frontline Gold, available at your vet.
If you love fashion, get ready for a new world.
Let's get the sample you collected from that wine bottle under the microscope quickly. Every second counts, Matthew.
Members choose from over 3,000 styles and 150 brands. Add anything you'd like to wear to your online closet, and Gwynnie Bee will send items from your selections to fill your at-home closet. Wear them once or several times. Exchange them one at a time or all at once. And if you love an item, you can buy it at a discount.
Gwynnie Bee
Alright.
is fashion without the commitment. I can wear it, love it, and send it back. You can change your entire wardrobe for one price, and I love that.
In just 1 month, you can wear over $1,000 worth of beautiful, stylish outfits for about when you go online to tryongenie.com,
Son of a gun, leather oil.
every Gwynnie Bee member gets
Of course, Matthew. That substance you collected from that wine bottle is leather oil. More specifically, the oil one uses on gloves. I should have recognized it from the scent. I regularly use it on my own. Chief Inspector Halstead is the only suspect you've encountered wearing gloves. I wonder how she may have wronged Miss George. Regardless, it's clear Inspector Halstead felt the need to ask forgiveness. Let's ask her why, Matthew.
Looking good, eh, Jess? Oh, I couldn't have written a happier ending myself. You managed to
Why she apologized to the victim?
Can you hold a sec? Jimmy, this is
Pardon me, Chief Inspector. Senior Trooper Matthew found this bottle of wine you gave to Miss George and... Ah, the wine. I guess she didn't accept my apology. If she threw that away... Your apology? For what exactly? Celine blamed me for everything that's gone wrong at the World Exhibition, even those damaged inventions. As if I wasn't under enough pressure. There's so much to take care of, and those hot air balloon rides and my chlorohydrate are doing little to calm my nerves. Given the stress you're under, a natural reaction would be to lash out yourself, Chief Inspector. You forget your place, Senior Trooper Matthew. Mind who you are raising accusations against.
leading up to the...
Who is this, Dad?
Alright.
I'm Gandalf.
I'll let the automaton run its course for now. See you then. Alright folks, we have come back. Let's get the results of the automaton. Despite the tragedies that have befallen the World Exhibition, Matthew, I'll be sorry when it's finished. All of the inventions have been wonderful. Including your DNA machine, Charlie. But have you examined Celine George's automaton? I have. This magnificent machine has been programmed to mimic human handwriting. Powered by clockwork motors, the mechanism doesn't just simulate handwriting, it actually writes pre-programmed messages. My word, an automaton that writes messages. But there's more. Look what the device has been programmed to write. A rather inflammatory missive, Matthew. You should give up now, Greta. You're a disgrace. Why would Miss George send such a nasty message to her friend? Perhaps they weren't as close as Miss Gunwood would have us believe. Only she can tell us. And let's see what Greta Gunwood has to say about it. Miss Gunwood, in your outpouring of grief, you failed to inform Senior Trooper Matthew that you and Miss Georges had a falling out. I guess it was foolish to hope that it would remain a secret. But yes, our friendship had eroded ever since I won the previous exhibition contest. She thought I didn't deserve the victory. It only got worse when I entered again this year. She said I was robbing her of her chance to shine, that I was greedy for fame. She even gloated when my camera was tampered with. Thank goodness it was repaired on time. And so she tried to guilt you into dropping out of the contest. Yes, she handed me that silly note when I came back from a hot air balloon ride, as if that would sway me. But look at her now. She thought she was so high and mighty, but she tumbled back to earth pretty quickly. As far as I can tell, she's not the one. And we'll see if that holds true. The evidence against Celine Georges' killer is mounting, Matthew. But it leads us towards one of two alarming conclusions. Either the victim was pushed from the top of the exhibition tower by one of her fellow competition finalists, or the killer is one of our very own colleagues. You're right, Matthew. You've established the crime took place on the deck of the tower, on the upper deck of the tower. As such, we should make the climb to the top one more time. That's right. Try go for the first star. Can already see the two clues that I need. Handkerchief, mouse trap. Perfect. 3 seconds. Already moved past Ace. Cool. And I'll let him know. Of course, I don't do this just to kind of give people a hard time. I just like to do it just to say, hey, I beat you. Gotta come after me now. 10,000 coins. Just say, hope you catch me. Looking down on that vast Concordian cityscape, we know for certain Celine Georges' killer is out there somewhere, and perhaps the vital clue we need to catch them is on this platform. Those tools are a good place to start. A rummage through that crate could prove fruitful. And that bloodstained handkerchief has the victim's initials on it, Matthew. No great mystery there. The blood is likely hers, but we shouldn't risk missing a lead. Let's take a sample to be sure. Come, Matthew. We cannot allow the World Exhibition to end with injustice. Miss George's killer must be caught tonight. Goggles. Victim's goggles. The goggles you found in that crate look like the ones Celine Georges was accustomed to wearing. These must have fallen off during her deadly struggle, which means they were hidden here after Celine was murdered. We could speculate all night, Matthew, but we've no time to dawdle. Let's have Viola examine these goggles. This is the 15-hour... Oh, hold on. There we go. Back to where I once was. And let's get this handkerchief out of the way. I'm almost at 100,000 energy. Okay. Nicely done, Matthew. Let's get that blood sample you collected from that handkerchief to Viola quickly. And we'll see who this killer is and the saboteur when these two have run their courses. So for now, this is Matthew. See you then. Okay, folks, we have come back, and let's go ahead and get the results of the victim's goggles first. I'll cut to the chase, Matthew. I've made an alarming discovery while analyzing the victim's goggles. I found a torn scrap of blue cloth on one of the goggles' rivets. Torn away from Celine's killer, I wager. Correct, but that's the troubling part. I examined the fabric closely, and this material and the specific shade of blue are identical to Concoria's police blazers. You're saying the killer is a police officer? Then it is as we feared, Matthew. Celine Georges was killed by one of our colleagues. A grave discovery, Matthew. The murderer is one of our own. A wolf in sheep's clothing. Or to be more precise, the killer is wearing a blue police blazer. It's not often you bring me samples that are overly simple, Matthew, but the blood you collected from the victim's handkerchief is an exception. So it was Miss George's blood after all? I was afraid of that. Quite the contrary, Isaac. This sample is from her killer. Let me explain. I have prepared myself for an extensive analysis, but the very first result proved negative for the victim's blood. Celine George's blood type is B negative, while the blood you found on the handkerchief is B positive. The logical deduction is simply itself, its simplicity itself. The killer, after their scuffle with Miss Georges, wiped away their blood on the handkerchief before throwing it away. A positive clue if I've ever seen one, Matthew. Celine George's killer has B positive blood. It's time to bring Celine George's killer to justice, Matthew, but the evidence you gather proves without doubt the murderer is a colleague. Brace yourself, Matthew. We're about to arrest one of our own.
This was terrorist attack. However, to the victims, what difference does it make?
Police say just before 2:30 early Sunday morning, several gunmen opened fire inside the crowded Cameo nightclub in Cincinnati. According to witnesses, a group of men got into an argument which escalated into gunshots. Among the victims, 27-year-old O'Brien Spike, who was killed.
People were just going to have a good time and ended up getting shot. That is totally
It's not Arthur Wright.
unacceptable.
It is not Greta Gunwood.
This is a country where you should be able to go out
It
and
is
have a good
sadly.
time and not be
It
in
is not
fear
Stanley Spark.
of getting shot.
Locals say this is a nightclub that caters to a younger crowd, especially on the weekend.
It is Eleanor Halstead.
We have had incidents here in the past, but this is the Lawrence by far.
Police say the incident stems from an argument that started between a group of people earlier in the day and escalated to the shooting overnight.
Chief Inspector Halstead, I am appalled. How could you murder an innocent woman? How dare you accuse me, Senior Trooper Matthew? I outrank you. That's precisely what makes this truly distasteful. One of Concordia's highest-ranking officers, a murderous scoundrel. You're on thin ice, Senior Trooper Matthew. You had better have strong evidence to level such allegations against me. We have your hot air balloon token, found at the top of the exhibition tower, stained with the victim's blood. Everyone at the World Exhibition has been riding those balloons. I saw Commissioner Baldwin in one this very night. But not everyone could access the tower platform. We know you were there when Celine Georges was pushed. We found a scrap of your blue police blazer torn on her goggles. Of course I was there. I told you I had safety concerns. And that clock, the commissioner also... The commissioner has nothing to do with this. He doesn't have your B-positive blood. The blood you wiped on Miss George's handkerchief. The time for deceit is over, Inspector Halstead. Fine, I threw that meddling woman off that tower. Celine thought she was so smart. She came to me with her suspicions that someone was sabotaging the World Exhibition inventions. Little did she realize I knew all about that. So I capitalized on the tower's low safety barriers and caught Celine by surprise. So this wasn't about protecting your reputation. We always suspected Miss Georges was killed by the World Exhibition saboteur. But what would you have to gain from the victory of Sparks' exosuit? I don't have to explain myself to you, Senior Trooper Matthew, or anyone else. If you want answers, you'll have to find them yourself. Perhaps you'll have more to say once Judge Takakura is finished with you. You're under arrest for the murder of Celine Georges. Eleanor Halstead, after all these years working side by side in the pursuit of justice, you go and throw it all away, murdering an innocent woman. Then again, I should have known you were capable of such a thing. You always were so uptight. If you are quite through, Takakura, I'd prefer to skip the monologue. And frankly, I don't understand why I'm standing here on trial while Stanley Sparks walks free. What has Mr. Spark got to do with any of this? Why do you think I sabotaged all the inventions? Spark was paying me to do it. Stanley Spark needed his exosuit to win the grand prize, and he was willing to pay handsomely to make sure it did. I saw an opportunity, so I took it. It was easy to find officers under my command to do the dirty work for me. Of course, cut a wire here, remove a gear there. Nobody was any the wiser. You went to all that trouble, even sinking to the depths of murder, just for money? Couldn't you have asked for a raise? It wasn't my intention to kill anyone, but that fool came to me and said she figured everything out. Everything except for the fact that it was me helping Spark. I've heard enough. Mr. Spark will get what's coming to him, while you, Eleanor Halstead, will spend the rest of your days behind bars. I, on the other hand, will spend the rest of mine enjoying my retirement. So this is the case where Takakura finally steps out. If what Inspector Halstead says is true, Matthew, she was paid by Stanley Spark to ensure his victory at the World Exhibition. Spark may not have killed Celine Georges, but he's responsible for the entire scheme. I agree, Matthew, he must face justice. And we know exactly where he'll be right now, at the World Exhibition Awards ceremony, angling to claim his prize. There's not a second to lose, Matthew.
Sunshine for you to enjoy the holiday, and a few light windward showers to start. Showers should be scaled back over the next several days, and that's because we really don't have any major rainmakers for the state. Some light clouds moving through tonight, so
you can bet I will be doing another case in Elite Mode as you take a look at the other ones.
Not much moisture moving in with the trade winds from the east, and storm systems.
A positive blood for Talmadge Baldwin. Chief Wright cleared from the start. Greta Gunwood cleared from the start as well. Stanley Spark. Black Blazer, not blue. It was Eleanor Halstead. I'll see you guys for Gears of Change 6-6. Alright folks, we have come back. Let's get started with the Gears of Change 6-6. Matthew, if what Eleanor Halstead says is true, Stanley Spark paid her to sabotage inventions at the World Exhibition, guaranteeing his victory. This investigation isn't over yet, Matthew. We must confront Stanley Spark. And we know exactly where he'll be right now, at the World Exhibition Awards ceremony. Wow, that was a thrilling demonstration, ladies Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a round of applause for Stanley Spark in his fantastical suit. Thank you, Mr. Rochester. Thank you, my fellow Concordians. While I congratulate all of the World Exhibition inventors for their ingenuity, the exosuit has outshone them all. It is therefore my pleasure to declare Stanley Spark this year's World Exhibition winner. It is a great honor to receive this award. In my opinion, the Spark exosuit will revolutionize... Stop! You must cease these proceedings immediately. Senior Trooper Matthew, what is this? Mr. Rochester, this contest has been fraudulently manipulated. A grand deception orchestrated by Stanley Spark himself. Mr. Spark bribed Inspector Halstead to sabotage the competition inventions. I say, this must be a mistake. The exosuit is not a worthy victor. Stanley Spark, you're under arrest.
Yeah, it's just a small leak.
I'm afraid Senior Trooper Matthew is correct, but none of you have any idea what you're dealing with. Perhaps another demonstration? Don't move, Spark. Just try and stop me. Come, Mr. Rochester, let's take a stroll. Matthew, he's gone. We must catch Spark and save Leopold Rochester. We mustn't act hastily, Matthew. I have grave fears about that exosuit. Its actual purpose has never been explained. There's no telling what Spark has planned. Let me come with you, Matthew. I can help you catch Spark. Very well. As for me and Matthew, I'll return to the airship and brief Chief Wright on Eleanor Halstead's treachery. He'll certainly want to talk to you as soon as possible. Alright, Matthew, I saw Spark dragging Mr. Rochester towards the exhibition tower. Let's go, there's no time to lose.
Big time. He improved to 3-0, posting 8 innings, allowing just 1 run on 5 hits, with 3 strikeouts, and giving some hashtag aloha about his defense and offense. Headlined at the plate by freshman Adam Fogel. McLovin was super bad, 2 for 2 with a home run, 3 RBI, and 2 runs scored. He hit .750 for the week with 8 runs batted in. Check this, 14 runs. Goes the final, sweeping SJSU, improving to 15-8 for the season.
It was awesome, especially the Sunday game. I mean, that brings a record to
okay, here we go.
Sundays, and Coach Schaub always talks about those Sunday games are huge for the series, and altogether we've been playing great as a team. I mean, we're getting guys in that didn't play that much, they're showing up, and especially offense. We had like 14 hits today, we're just raking.
The satisfying thing was today's game. We finally put together a clean game in all 3 phases, and really played well. So I've been bothered a little bit by how we've been playing the last couple weekends. Not with our effort, our toughness, our grit, because we've got that in bunches. But we just didn't play as clean as we'd like. And today we did, and we played a really good game in all phases.
Up next for the Rainbow Warriors, another meeting with a former WAC rival as the Nevada Wolfpack come to town. 4-game series. Their non-conference finale runs Thursday through Sunday in Manoa. We move to Major League Baseball spring training, where a pair of former
I'm not going to do well here, but at this point I don't care.
for the Cardinals, as Greg Garcia and Colton Wong hooked up in the St. Louis middle infield on a big night. The Redbirds 3-zip win over the Marlins. Solid day defensively, but at the plate, the two would go combined 0 for 4.
Mr. Rochester, thank God you're safe. Merciful heavens, you're here, Senior Trooper Matthew. Stanley Spark has gone mad. Fear not, Senior Trooper Matthew will catch him. Which way did he go? I believe he headed upward, to the top of the tower. At least you know Spark is cornered, Matthew. He's not going anywhere. Which means there's time to take a sample of the purple stain on Sparks' exosuit plans. He must have dropped them in his haste. I'll make sure the tower is cordoned off, Matthew. You look after that sample.
For the 3rd time in 4 events this season, Punahou graduate Michelle Reed has posted a top 35 finish in the LPGA as the 27-year-old signed off on a 21st place finish at the Kia Classic in California. Final round even par
8.
Starting April 12th. March Madness delivers once again.
There's no time to waste, Matthew. Although Spark is trapped on the exhibition tower, we have no idea what he's up to. Let's dispatch that purple liquid you collected from his plants to Viola, and hope we can find a weakness to exploit.
With less than a second remaining to beat Kentucky 75-73. Sorry, Justin, I know you're a Wildcat. Tar Heels advance to face Gonzaga next Saturday in the national.
And let's talk to Chief Wright now.
Over on the other side of the bracket, for the first time ever, South Carolina is headed to the final.
Bontemps has briefed me on the troubling developments, Matthew. I still cannot believe Eleanor Halstead would accept bribes to ensure Stanley Sparks' victory. When the Flying Squad was established to combat corruption in the police force, I never dreamed it had spread so high up in the ranks. The important thing now is to discover the extent of Halstead's treachery. If she was accepting bribes from Sparks, it's likely she took money from other sources.
I heard you crying.
You found Eleanor's security folder in the Crystal Palace earlier. You and Bontemps scoured that auditorium. Perhaps there is more to be found. Take this, Matthew. Spare no expense. This is our chance to strike a heavy blow against corruption in the department. 20 grand?
Oh, no. That's why I didn't do it. Thank you guys for joining us. Don't forget Sam Choi's in the kitchen coming up next.
See you guys.
Hello. Take care.
And I'll see you guys when these two... Oh, well, first of all, we have to check the stage out.
Bud Light is tasted by brewmasters every step of the process. It's a tough job, but for you and your friends, it's worth it. We don't just brew beer, we brew beer for friends.
Cod extravaganza is here at Long John Silver's.
Try our new Coastal Beer Battered Cod.
All right.
It's all natural elastic cod dipped into a golden beer batter for a twist on a classic flavor. The choice is yours. Long John Silver's, you deserve more.
What connects you more to the road and makes you feel every mile? Riding a Harley Davidson. Get ready to ride and make some new adventures this springtime. See you local Harley
Briefcase.
now for a free oil change since the checkup. Live your legend of Harley Davidson. Serving Harley Davidson and the people of Hawaii for 50 years.
Affordable Home AC is Oahu's window and through-the-wall air conditioning experts. Our ACs are
There we go.
Energy Star rating. When you buy a unit from Affordable Home AC,
And I
you're
beat
receiving
somebody.
the highest quality product in the industry. Quality products, professional service, and happy customers.
No help in terms of the mountain goat.
For all your
That briefcase clearly belongs to Miss Halstead, Matthew. This could be just the clue we need to uncover her misdeeds. Naturally, this case is secured, but that lock is no match for you.
Wrestling Knows Best, all new episode, Tuesday at 10 on USA.
He's young. Say a word, he dies.
Alright.
Became suspicious.
MF8, 2XL,
It was horrible.
154. Got it.
Lewis drove us to a vacant beach house, handcuffed me to a iron fence.
That stack of bank checks you found in Halstead's briefcase could reveal a pattern in her financial dealings, Matthew. Let's get them to Miss Holloway.
He didn't shoot.
No, he said that he wanted to take his time with me.
9 hours, and I'll see you guys, and that's done. For now, this is Matthew. See you then. Okay, folks, we have come back, and let's put a killer behind bars. Let's get the results of the purple liquid. Matthew, that purple liquid you found on Sparks' exosuit plans primarily consist of betaine, a common ingredient in mechanical coolant formulas. The logical conclusion is that the exosuit is leaking cooling fluid, which is a worrying development, as Charles will explain. Matthew, while Viola was looking at that sample, I examined the plans themselves. Spark never mentioned it, but it's clear his exosuit can fly. That's probably why he went to the top of the tower. Spark's planning to escape by flying away. But if that suit has sprung a leak, Spark could plummet to his death. Matthew, our intention was to arrest Spark for bribing Halstead, but now we must save him from certain death. Let's get to the tower at once.
Son of a bitch, you really want to do this in here? You're accused of being a sex slave? So you dragged me through the mud. It was my lawyer's call. I didn't rape anybody. Did you? Not even close. My Cynthia and I, that was a relationship. Yeah, like
Senior Trooper Matthew, glad you could join me. I was hoping you'd witness my magnum opus. Mr. Spark, we know about your suit's flight capabilities, but... Flight capabilities? A gross understatement, Senior Trooper Matthew. Aviation is just the beginning. My technology is beyond imagination, the fusion of man and machine, a harmony of mechanics and human intellect. Please understand, Mr. Spark, your suit is leaking coolant. It will never be able to lift off. You must shut it down. Nice try, Senior Trooper Matthew, but you cannot possibly fathom the complexities of my technology. And if you think I'm going to just let you take me away in shackles, you're sorely mistaken. No, you must come down. Farewell, Senior Trooper Matthew. You should feel honored. You are witnessing history in the making.
I thought it was a test. Did you tell them no thank you? No. When I signed up for
what?
So
Spark, come back. Look at the power, Senior Trooper Matthew. I am invincible. Please, Mr. Spark, there isn't time. Wait, what's happening? Ah! Good heavens, Matthew. He's plummeted to the bottom of the tower. We must descend at once. Oh God, Matthew, there's nothing that anyone can do anymore. Spark's dead. I'll call someone to remove his body and this wreckage. If only he'd listened to reason, he would have been in custody, but at least he would have survived. History in the making indeed. We DuPonts have always been more inclined towards science than history, but I must admit, this is a story worthy of my journal. I agree, Matthew. After all this drama, let's return to the airship. I must admit, Matthew, tracing financial records is terribly dull. We've had enough excitement for one day, Evie. Have you made headway with those checks? Uncovering evidence of Halstead's crimes is of the utmost importance. Yes, I have traced a check dated a week prior to the opening of the World Exhibition. The account number corresponds with that of Spark Industries. But it goes further, Matthew. I found a series of checks paid from another account, on a regular basis going back 6 months. The account number was unusually difficult to trace, as if someone deliberately wanted to remain anonymous, so I decided it needed an unconventional perspective. Unconventional? What are you... Good evening, my fair Madeline. Oh, it's you, Detective Bontemps. Pleasant evening. Mr. Del Lobo, well, were you able to trace these mysterious payments? Of course. Fraudulent activities are my specialty. From an academic perspective, naturally. It wasn't easy, but after some thorough digging, it appears these payments originate from an individual known only as Mad Dog. They've been greasing Halstead's paws for months. Well, we're clearly on the right track if Miss Halstead was being paid off by an elusive figure calling themselves Mad Dog. I agree, Matthew. Miss Halstead was tight-lipped, but perhaps a few hours in prison have loosened her tongue. Let's see what she knows about this Mad Dog.
Chandler just filed a lawsuit against you and the suit. So what for? It was consensual. The plane is...
Visiting already, Senior Trooper Matthew? I haven't had time to decorate. Enough frivolities, Miss Halstead. We know you received bribes from an individual by the name of Mad Dog, and we demand to know who they are. You figured that out, did you? I'm impressed, Senior Trooper Matthew. Mad Dog goes to great lengths not to be found. But if you think I'll tell you who they are or what they paid me for, you can forget it. They've already threatened my life once. I'm keeping my mouth shut. If this Mad Dog threatens your life, you should be all the more willing to bring them to justice. Tell us who they are. Forget it, but the threat they sent me should still be at the Crystal Palace. Have a look there, and take this food with you, Senior Trooper Matthew. I've lost my appetite.
Talk to you.
Let me hear that from her.
You're hearing it from me. This is my home. You're trespassing.
Your husband.
You gonna leave? Do I have to call a real cop?
I'm gonna keep coming back till you talk to me.
Broken plaque.
The other thing we did before the camera ruling was compare ridiculous words. You came out and with a straight face said something like cattywampus. My body's all cattywampus, and so it made my dress fit weird. But I love that word, cattywampus. How often does it get to be used? Not as often as it should. What does it even mean? It means like.
There we go. Ooh, oh well. That's okay. I don't know what we're looking for, Matthew. Halstead claims there's evidence proving the so-called Mad Dog threatened her, but I'm at a loss. A pile of broken wood? That hardly seems relevant, but I trust your instincts, Matthew. Reassemble those pieces at will.
He's a proud hotel owner, but Jim is frustrated because his beautiful room is not being booked on his website. To cut his losses, he offers to go on a popular travel website and a discount website for a reduced price. Why should you care? Because his room is now on 3 different websites for 3 different prices. But on Trivago, you find all of these prices on one site. That's how Trivago finds your ideal hotel for the best price.
There we are. What a frightful visage, Matthew. And that grim Hall's dead wordplay on Halstead's name is clearly a threat. It appears she was telling the truth. Mad Dog sent this to threaten her, but I cannot see anything that would help us identify them. Great idea. If there is anyone who knows about threats and intimidation, it's Rose. Let's have her examine this plaque.
It's the first and only OAB treatment in its class.
Myrbetriq may cause serious allergic reactions. If you experience swelling of the face, lips, throat, or tongue, or difficulty breathing, stop taking Myrbetriq and tell your doctor right away. Myrbetriq may increase blood pressure.
6 hours. I'll get the results tonight. For now, this is Matthew. See you then. Had a change of heart, folks. I'm gonna go ahead and speed this up.
To take the pressure off your shoulders and keep your neck aligned regardless of your sleeping position, so you get the best night's sleep.
Matthew, you really must warn me sending things like this wooden plaque. It frightened Rasputin half to death. Nothing that a little cheese couldn't fix, right, Rasputin? Duly noted, Rose. Now about that wooden carving. Well, Halstead wasn't exaggerating. Whoever sent this plaque wanted her to understand her life was in danger. This is a depiction of a banshee, which in Irish mythology is a female spirit that appears as a forewarning of imminent death. However, coupled with that threat, this is typical of the intimidation tactics employed by Irish gangsters operating in Concordia. I've had some run-ins with them myself over the years. So this Mad Dog is an Irish thug? Correct. And if they had the chief inspector in their pocket, they're not a small-time thug either. I guess we have our answers, Matthew. We must inform the chief as soon as possible. When Mayor Castletown opened the World Exhibition, I doubt he imagined it would be plagued by murder, Matthew. Nor that the inventions would be deliberately sabotaged by Eleanor Halstead on the orders of Stanley Spark. One is in prison and the other has perished, killed by his own technology. But what of the competition, Chief? With so many inventors either sabotaged or killed, who shall be declared the winner? To honor her memory on this night of tragedy, Leopold Rochester has seen fit to posthumously award the prize to Celine George. A suitable tribute indeed. But your own inventions shall not go to waste. The DNA machine will be of great assistance in future investigations, I wager. Quite right, Chief. I'll tell Richard the good news. We shall install the equipment immediately. I'd like you to come with me, Matthew. I heard about Miss Halstead getting bribed from this mad dog. We must tell Commissioner Baldwin about this.
Anastasia.
Christian,
Welcome to my house.
enlighten me.
I play hard. 50 Shades of Grey.
Let's tell Mr. Baldwin about Mad Dog. Congratulations, Senior Trooper Matthew. A stellar job by all accounts. You have fulfilled your ultimate mandate at the Flying Squad, rooting out corruption within the Concordian Police Department. Not only did you discover Eleanor Halstead was bribed by the late Mr. Sparks, you've learned she also accepted payments from an Irish gang member. It's obvious the Flying Squad's next mission should be to find out more about this Mad Dog and the extent to which the Irish gangs have taken over Concordia. I agree, and the best place to search for this Mad Dog is Sinner's Inn. The area has been under Irish control for many years. We've had our differences in the past, Senior Trooper Matthew, but you have my unconditional support. Take this as a token of my appreciation. If there is anyone who deserves to have this, it's you. Cool. Matthew, I know the World Exhibition has been a roller coaster of emotions, but I have good news. Justin Lawson has been endorsed as Concordia's new judge, and he's about to be sworn in by Mayor Castletown. Let's get down to the courthouse. To witness the occasion, we won't want to miss it. Do you, Justin Lawson, commit yourself to the office of judge, faithfully representing the citizens of Concordia? I, Justin Lawson, solemnly affirm to safeguard the liberties and statutes that govern the people of Concordia. I promise to uphold the laws of this city, rendering fair and faithful justice to all. Then it is my pleasure to welcome you to the office of judge. Thank you, Mayor Castletown. Thank you, Matthew. I'm honored to be entrusted with this solemn authority. I shan't let you down. Welcome aboard, Judge Lawson. Your fair judgment will be needed as Senior Trooper Matthew faces a new and difficult challenge. Taking on the Irish gangsters of Sinner's Inn.
Supposed to be a package. I want a guy with the bullet holes in the block. Can we just do this? Look. You know what? I don't know what the hell you talking about.
Okay, that will do. Hold on. There we are. Sinner's Inn now.
I think I'm just gonna stick it out and get my 20.
Tell about it. Next one is open March 30th.
What are you talking about? I believed you.
I wish I could believe.
Cool, 5 new ones. Two new ones. New ones again. 3 new ones. And that's going to do for this.
In the criminal justice system,
So I'll see you guys then.
defenses are considered